Welcome back to the Soul What podcast. How are you? What's going on? Where is everyone in the universe? I'll tell you where we are, at least at this point in time, in some element of the interdimensional, multidimensional plane of existence. We're in May of 2024. And guess what May is? I'm alone, so no one's guessing. So I'll fill you in. Unless you, kind listener, dear reader, if this were written, which so often I've said in the past from the written work, May is actually Mental Health Awareness Month. And I share that because I am a strong advocate for mental and emotional health. I think that whatever it is that you do to take better care of your holistic person, being, it's super awesome. And you should be doing more of that. So May is also AANHPI month, which stands for Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander month. So if you know any Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, Pacific Islanders, make sure you do your best to give aloha and shout out them, learn more about their super fascinating cultures. I've had the great gift and blessing to be a mixed person of a variety of ethnicities that check those boxes, as well as grow up in the islands of Hawaii and connect with a number of Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders, Native Hawaiians. Honestly, the acronym's a little intense, so I know I butchered that on the last one. My apologies. And historically, it was actually AAPI month, and that was shifted a few years back when the White House under President Biden declared that it would be AANHPI, giving a shout out to the Native Hawaiians, which is a great addition. May is also the month I was born in, which is kind of trippy. My mom was also born in May. Shout out to my mom if you're listening, or if someone who knows my mom is listening, give her a happy birthday when that comes up. If you know what it is, she'd probably not like me to reveal her birth date, so I won't do that. And also, May is Mother's Day, so jehu to all the moms out there. May is also, believe it or not, the birth of hashtag the Kitty Hendricks experience. Our younger cat, who is now sadly, maybe not sadly, he's still pretty spry, although he sleeps a lot. 9 years old, so he's not so much a baby, but he's the baby when it comes to the two cats. But yeah, May is pretty awesome, I guess. May has been off and running. I can't believe we're already a week into May. I feel like I blurrily walked into the month of May because I spent the week prior, roughly about 6 days, in the ninth island of the islands of Hawaii, also known as Las Vegas, over there on the continent in Nevada. It was pretty cool. My company had the opportunity to partner with the Holo Holo Festival, and it was really fascinating. Now, that said, that segues nicely into an observation. I cannot tell you how many people I ran into who I knew living in the ninth island, and I ran into a couple people too who I haven't seen in like years, probably longer than some people have been alive, which is kind of crazy when I think about it. And that kind of speaks to the state of how things are in a lot of places. I mean, economically, but especially here in the islands where our cost of living is a little bit crazy, to say the least. It's kind of funny, actually. I was in a conversation with someone who was increasing a bill, and I commented that things have changed over the years, including 5 years ago when I first moved into where we live, and I made the observation about the price of gas, and I got, oh, really? And I was kind of surprised. Granted, I'm going to give this person the benefit of the doubt, with two small kids and a lot of things going on. But to say the least, we're feeling it. everywhere, and especially a place like this where costs are so high. It's super nuts to be frank. And sometimes it feels like honestly there's no end in sight. And that can be difficult, which takes us back to the importance of maintaining one's mental and emotional health. One of the things that kind of blew me away about my experience, at least in Las Vegas, and I'm not saying that this is the experience that everyone has. Granted, I was at a festival celebrating Pacific Islander and Native Hawaiian culture. We had choke acts from Hawaii up there performing. There was a lot of people who were originally from here who moved, people who were descendants of people who originally from here who moved. Um, it's really crazy, actually. But the sense and the vibe that I got was people were lighter, they were happier. So I was talking to Bev about it, and something she pointed out to me was just how everyone here is tired. And when she said that, it really rang a bell. I've said for many years now, and knock on wood, all of us live, one or two paychecks away from disaster, and being able to join our brothers and sisters out there who are houseless, and that's something that I've never taken for granted, and I guess has been very much aware to me just because of how challenging it is. And so she shared with me too. There's been this video, and I will find it and link it in the description. But there was an interview with a gentleman from the island of Maui, and he said he and his wife work full time. They live in a decent sized house for a family that they have. I think they have like 4 kids, but their rent is like 3,900, which sounds insane, right? Like, how are you gonna pay 3,900 for single family home? And then he made the comment, the sad thing is if we wanted to buy it, our mortgage would be 6 grand, which is so true, so crazy. I mean, I live in a building where, units range from 1.3 up to 1.6, for the average units. And then the higher up you go, you could probably hit 1.7, 1.8 for the top floors, maybe the penthouse, right? Which is pretty wild. But this guy's talking about a house which is pretty similar in size, probably about 1,000 square feet, and that's the reality all of us are dealing with. And his comment, his point was, back in the day when his grandfather was around, you could have a person work on a single income and be able to afford to take care of their family. And we live in this era now where you have people who are working one full-time job, one part-time job. I mean, growing up, I saw my parents both work full-time and have part-time side hustles. Throughout my life, I've always had, some main full-time and some kind of side gig, or at one point I had like 4 simultaneous part-time jobs trying to just balance and make ends meet. And it's just kind of the environment and the feel, which is really, it's kind of crazy if you think about it. When you pause and you look at some other cultures, a lot of places in the world are overworked and over prioritize things which probably are not really that important when you actually really get down to the brass tacks of what really matters in life. But it's so wild. Uh, you work, you work, you work, you grind, you grind, you grind. You get to the weekend and you're too tired to do anything, and before you know it, boom, you're right back at it. And it's just incredible. I'm as guilty as anyone else of missing the beauty. I do my best, as I pointed out in a previous episode, of trying to breathe into and hold the space for more mindfulness, more awareness, more joy. And right now, as I'm recording this, right, like the sun is starting to go down. I can see a little bit of the clouds and the wind blowing through the foliage and the green and the blues and all the different colors. And definitely it's a wonderful, pretty amazing view. A stark contrast to the desert for sure, or neon, fake electric lights. But what are we doing, humanity? Where are we headed? And a lot of that's really beyond us. So circling back to kind of how we kicked this off, that's really where the inner work is of such great value. And over the course of my journey, I honestly feel very gifted and blessed to have experienced a variety of losses and changes in life, which have really helped, I think, to shape my consciousness to value and maximize the moments when I remember fully the temporariness of all of this, and also to just have a variety of, I'm going to say outlet. I don't know if that's the right word that I'm looking for, but a variety of practices where I can go and recharge. I feel very, very fortunate to have invested a lot in that. And I'm also committed to getting off the journey of being in therapy. And I say that because, let's be real, the true goal of therapy should be to not be on it. So that's something I was sharing with my therapist recently as I was reminded of it. And at least when I look back to other periods of doing some deep, heavy inner lifting and work, it was interesting to kind of see when you did get off the therapy freeway, if you will. Uh, with that, I can't believe it's May. May of 2024. There's been a couple moments where I've literally miswritten things and I've thought ahead already to 2025 because in some level, at least for work, there's some planning and discussion very, very early, looking at some things that might hit in 2025. And that's so wild to me. Uh, this year is not even half past yet, already like looking to beyond. And then you add in things to like think long term, think to your retirement, and think about this and think about that. And we're really very interesting creatures, I guess, is going to be my aha of the day. But that said, I'm super grateful to have made it to another May. I've experienced quite a few of them at this point in my journey, and I hope to experience quite a few more. Um, Actually, I'll tell you, since we're on the mental health awareness, tell you a funny comment I made to my therapist. I was like, "Hey, let's be real. I'm playing on the back nine," and I mentioned that in two separate sessions, and both times she laughed at me. The first time she looked at me, and I think in her mind she was thinking, "Hey, this fucker," like, because she's older than I am, and I'm saying that. And anytime a young person says that they feel old, I'm having heard it from younger people telling me, it's like, you don't even know, you're not that old. So all of us can do a better job of that, myself included. But I was kind of thinking about it in that standpoint, because if you look at the average lifespan of a male, right, and it's trending backwards, it's not trending upwards. COVID did play a role in that. But the average life expectancy, at least in the US for a male, is 73. So when I contextualize and I look at that and I think about the amount of life that I've lived and potentially what the average life expectancy is, which is, hopefully it exceeds that as long as there's good health, right? And definitely working on that, committed to that. But even more so, do I think it's so important that we take not a single moment, a single breath for granted. And it's not easy. I understand that fully. And I throw that out there. But that's why you got to go give shout out to my brother, Troy Walter, another listen. But you really got to go and commit to that spreading joy and aloha wherever I am. Because you know how I said we looking ahead to 2025, that's where you're going. But where you are, where I am, that's right now. So if we can like really just tap back into the sharing, the allowing, the fullness of the experience of joy, and then living and being aloha in every single moment of our life, then all the stress, all the drama, all that other stuff, it'll work itself out. Right on. Well, again, May is a lot of things, but definitely my hope is whoever might be listening, if you have any struggles, I'll put some resources in the description. Definitely know that there's professionals out there who can help you on your journey wherever you may be. And just keep going. I know it's hard. Believe you me, there's all these cliche sayings, right? Like fall down 7 times, stand back up 8, but you just got to keep showing up. There's going to be challenging days, but at least from my experience, it gets better. And as my teacher has said on a number of occasions, and I've repeated a lot in the course of my life with other people, but even in just to myself, your best will always be surpassed by your worst yet, and so on and so forth. Will that cycle continue? Meaning you're gonna have a worst yet that's gonna exceed the feeling of your best yet. But guess what? You're gonna have another best yet. And you know what? After that, you're gonna have another worst yet. That's just the cycle. That's just the show. So if you look at nature, there's beauty in all of that and it balances out. All right. Well, mahalo for being out there. Give yourself a pat on the back or realize that your arms are long enough so that you can reach out and give yourself a hug if you need one. And just keep going. Just get after it. All right. Have a good one. Ahuiho.